us around primarily using Street View. Malcolm, welcome to the channel.
Hey, Diane. Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. I've lived in Annapolis most of my life, and I'm very excited to talk to you about why I love living here in Annapolis and kind of some of my favorite features of this area.
Fantastic. I'm always curious about a place's downtown because I like to live in towns with cute downtowns.
Yeah, one of the biggest local attractions really is just the downtown Annapolis. You have a lot of these cobblestone streets there. You have a lot of homes from literally the 1700s, 1800s down there. There's a lot of history down there as well. You know, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington. There's stories of them visiting pubs and visiting places in downtown Annapolis. And for a short period, Annapolis actually was the capital of the U.S. for a short period there during the American Revolution. So we just have a tremendous amount of history and culture there, and just a lot of fun events and activities and restaurants to check out. And really just kind of walking along these streets down here, that alone is kind of an experience checking out these old homes. So if anybody's visiting the area, the downtown Annapolis is definitely, you know, the place that you want to start and just kind of start walking around and checking out the neighborhoods.
So is it the capital? Because I see this Maryland State House.
Yes, it is the capital of Maryland.
So you said there's live music, good shopping, always something happening downtown.
Yeah, so downtown we have what we call Ego Alley, and it's kind of this waterfront portion of downtown. We call it Ego Alley because that's where all the yachts and expensive boats and everything dock their boats just to kind of show them off to everybody. And that's really where you'd want to start, is down in Ego Alley. And then you can walk up these different streets to check out all the stores and restaurants and bars and everything. And, you know, we've got escape rooms down there. We've got live bands. We've got all kinds of restaurants and live music and live events, theater, and just a lot of really fun activities to kind of check out in downtown Annapolis. So to get one of these slips is really expensive. So it's usually the wealthier individuals park their yachts there just to kind of show them off. And that's why I call it Ego Alley. It's really just for people to kind of show off their boats while they're down there.
Wow, there were some big ones on that overhead view.
Yeah, and we're also really known for water taxis as well. So you can actually take a water taxi from downtown Annapolis, and that'll take you to a couple other boat side docks and bars, or a couple other spots in Annapolis. So a lot of people that go out drinking and partying in downtown Annapolis, and then they get a water taxi right back to their own waterfront property or back to their neighborhood.
Okay, now that's a super nice lifestyle. Yeah, I did notice on the map that there's all these like fingers of land kind of around the area. Are those different areas that people can taxi to, commute from?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, if you don't have waterfront property, as long as you have a waterfront community that has a dock, that's also really common as well. We have a lot of these little inlets and little rivers as part of Annapolis and part of the Chesapeake Bay.
Very cool. So what about parks? Like, what options do you have for hiking and walking and just getting outside?
Yeah, so Maryland is known for its national parks. We have a wide variety of national parks within commuting distance from Annapolis. You can go out to Ocean City, Maryland, and Rehoboth, and Accokeek Island is about 2 hours east of us. Or you can go to there's a couple of different mountains and hiking trails, and the Appalachian Trail goes through Maryland, maybe 2 hours west of Annapolis. And actually within Annapolis, we have Quiet Waters Park. And this is definitely a must-see for anybody who likes parks. And in Quiet Waters, there's several miles of paved walking trails through the woods and through these open fields and everything. They also have a really big dog park there, and they have a dog beach there as well. So if you're a dog owner, you definitely want to check out Quiet Waters Park. You can go there and let your dog play in the Chesapeake Bay. In the wintertime, they have an outdoor ice skating rink there as well. They've got an outdoor art museum type thing. And they even have boat rentals here and kayak rentals and standing board, paddleboard rentals as well. So in the summertime, you can go here and go rent a kayak and start kind of cruising around these little inlets of the Chesapeake Bay. So Quiet Waters Park is definitely a must-see if you're checking out Annapolis, or if you live there and you just want to get out and get some exercise. I go there quite often with my son. And then another really cool attraction is the B&A Trail. So the B&A Trail used to be a railroad trail from Annapolis all the way up to Baltimore. At one point, they've paved it over and turned it into I believe, a 13-mile jogging and biking trail. So again, that's a really cool attraction if for everybody in the area. I often go there again with my son, and I'll push him in the stroller. I'll ride my bike on this trail. So if you're really into, outdoor activities, you love paved trails, there's really no shortage of those here in the Annapolis area.
Sounds really cool. I totally want to visit. What's the COVID situation right now? Like, how firm or loose are they on that whole thing?
Yeah, so we had our restrictions kind of loosen up a little bit for a while there. But then right now, this new variant, Anne Arundel County, which is the county Annapolis is in, they've kind of cracked down again. And so once again, we're having a mask mandate for all indoor stores in this county, in Anne Arundel County. And it is spreading quite a bit right now. So it is kind of a challenge, but life's basically back to normal, except everybody's wearing masks indoors right now.
Are the kids back in school and are stores and businesses open?
Yeah, kids are back in school. Stores and businesses are open right now.
Oh my gosh, look at these cute streets. I love it. So Malcolm, what do you think are the top 3 neighborhoods? I'm really always interested in what you can get for 500,000, 700,000, and $1 million. Like, where would you direct me if I were looking in those 3 ranges?
Yeah, so one neighborhood that I really like is called Chesapeake Harbour. And this is actually a neighborhood of waterfront townhouses and condos. So this is kind of an affordable way for you to get waterfront views and waterfront access. And you can get a water taxi from this community. And so this is a gated community. It actually has a restaurant within the community. It has its own marina within the community. And you're probably looking in the $400,000 to $500,000 price range, but they have their own beach within the community, and many of the townhouses and condos have water views of the Chesapeake Bay, which is something that some people are really looking for.
That's pretty cool. That's not a bad price point for water access. Like, look at that. There's a beach.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, I kind of wouldn't mind living there, honestly. This community is really known for its amenities as well. So you have tennis courts, you have an indoor swimming pool, you have a giant marina within there. It has a beach just for the community. It has its own restaurant within the community as well. So for any buyers that if a water view is just like your top priority, this is a great place to get an affordable water view and get that sense of community and still get a really nice apartment or a condo. And they do have rentals in here as well. And so this is kind of a really nice community I recommend to people if they're looking for something that's really low maintenance and they want to be close to the water.
So how long does it take to get to all the activities downtown or to that big park you were talking about?
Yeah, so Quiet Waters Park is literally a 5-minute drive from this community. It's right down the street. Downtown Annapolis is probably a 5-10-minute drive from this community as well. And if you took the water taxi, it may be maybe a 10-minute boat ride, right? They don't really go that far or that fast, but you can take a water taxi from this community to all the bars and restaurants in downtown Annapolis.
Wow, very cool. Yeah. So Malcolm, what do you suggest for, when you get up into that $700,000 range?
Yeah, so if you want to go up a little bit higher, there's another community I really like, and it's a kind of a completely different type of community, and this is going to be Cape St. Clair. And Cape St. Clair actually used to be a vacation spot for people in DC. It used to be a gated community, but at some point they kind of took down the gates and allowed everybody to build there. And so it still has a lot of these remnants of this old gated community, but it's much more open now. And you actually can still find homes in the 500 price range here as well, but there are a lot more in that $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 price range, and even a few in the $1 million price range. And the $1 million ones are really going to be the waterfront properties. So this is more like the suburbs of Annapolis, but it's still technically part of Annapolis. So if you're looking for kind of a more spread out community, you're looking for homes, a little bit more land to them, maybe a little bit larger homes, looking for some place with sidewalks, Cape St. Clair is definitely going to be a good fit for you. They've got several different access points for water within the community, including a public, not a public, but including a community beach and a community playground, community town center. And there's actually even a little shopping center within the community called the Cape St. Clair Shopping Center. And it's actually a really cute little shopping center, and not many people know about it, but they have a grocery store and hardware store and a couple other like really cute little stores. A lot of these like small town mom and pop stores that have been there for, 30, 40, 50 years.
Do they have restaurants in there too?
They do, yeah. A couple of good restaurants. Zinni's is my favorite pizza place in the area, and that's in the shopping center. I get my hair cut in the shopping center. I live not too far from here. And they have a Graw's is kind of this really old fashion style grocery store that still has this like mom and pop feel to it. It's a little bit different than the other ones that we mentioned, and it's got a much wider price range, 500, 600, 700, 800, maybe all the way up to $1 million for some of these waterfront properties within the community. But really what I love about it is the community beach and playground. And I believe it has 6 different access points for water within the community.
Yeah, this is a pretty neighborhood. So Malcolm, the ones on the waterfront, what do those start at?
They're definitely much more pricey. They probably start around 800,000, and you'll get up to $1 million for some of these waterfront properties. A few of them have views of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, only a few of them though. And something like that would really jack up the price. Here in Annapolis, when it comes to waterfront properties, not all water views are the same. So if you have water views of just a creek, it's not the same as if you have a water view of the entire Chesapeake Bay. And if you have a view of the bay, it's even better if you have a view of the bay and the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. So in this community, you have mostly views of the bay, and there's a few houses that have views of the Bay Bridge here as well, which really jacks up the price.
That's so interesting. Tahoe is the same. It's all about what kind of lake view do you have? Is it a peak view through the leaves,
Right.
or is it a full-on view? Or yeah. So how far is this community from the excitement of downtown?
Yeah, so this is on the other side of Route 50, which is kind of a major highway, runs right next to Annapolis. And so this is probably about 15 minutes away from downtown Annapolis, but this still is technically in the Annapolis zip code. And like I said, this is kind of the suburbs. So if you want to be close to all that, but you want that neighborhood feel, you want your money to go a little bit farther to get a little bit larger home, a little bit bigger house, this is definitely a good place to check out.
So what would you recommend if we were like looking in the $1 million+ range?
So another neighborhood that's highly desirable here in Annapolis is going to be Eastport, Annapolis. And Eastport is right next to downtown Annapolis, but it's on the other side of Spall Creek. And why this is so desirable is because it's in walking distance to downtown Annapolis, but you don't get all the tourists from downtown Annapolis coming over here. There's not as much tourist attractions in this area. And so a lot of wealthy people, they move here just so they can kind of walk across this bridge, and they're in downtown Annapolis, close to all the excitement, and they're close to tons and tons of boat activity. So if you have a boat, right, you can rent a slip down here and you can literally walk to the slip from your home. And so this area really has a lot of these older homes, once again, from the 1800s and 1900s. A lot of people have really refurbished them to make them super nice. And there's also several really great restaurants here in Eastport, Annapolis. And this is a very highly desirable area. It's actually kind of hard to get a home that comes on the market here. So I have quite a few buyers that they're just waiting for something to come on the market. And even the worst house in this area is a house that's not even in movable condition. They're still selling for $600,000 just because it's so much demand in this area. And the great thing is just everything's in walking distance from Eastport. You can go to all the restaurants and activities in downtown Annapolis. You can get to the water, it's walking distance. And then there's several really great restaurants in Eastport as well.
These houses are super cute. Is there an HOA here, or can you kind of do whatever?
Yeah, there's no HOA in this area. However, some areas do have a historical society that kind of look over them. So if you do have a house from the 1800s, for example, you may be restricted on what you can and cannot do to that house. If you wanted to tear it down and rebuild, there may be some loops to jump through with the Annapolis Historical Society to get that to happen. And yeah, Eastport does have its own shopping center as well. And every single weekend, there's a farmer's market in that shopping center where you can go and get fresh produce and fresh fruits and vegetables from the local area.
Very cool. You mentioned 600,000 as an entry point, but if we were spending $1 million, like what kind of house can you get for that in this area?
Yeah, so $1 million, you can get a waterfront, probably a waterfront townhouse in that area. Maybe not even just a townhouse. For $1 million, you can get a waterfront detached home in that area. There's some townhouses there, maybe $700,000-800,000 that are waterfront for just a townhouse. But yeah, you can definitely see that there's some really nice $1 million plus homes here in Annapolis or in Eastport with their own boat launch and everything, their own docks and everything in the area.
So are there any exciting new developments or up and coming neighborhoods that really starting to pop?
Not really. Not that I could think of.
I'll be sure to include that pause. So is the general character of the community pretty much been around forever, totally built out?
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of land here in Annapolis. There's not a lot of new construction unless something gets torn down and then something's built on top of that. That's really the only way. Now, there's another really interesting community here called Heritage Harbor, and this is actually a 55 plus community.
Oh, it's really pretty, clean. So you mentioned this because good place for deals.
Some people are looking for 55 plus communities, and this may be a good option for a lot of people. I work with a lot of 55 plus buyers in the area, so I know a little bit about this one.
Not too big, easy to take care of. Looks like, I'm sure that's all HOA maintained, or do you maintain your front yard?
Yeah, they got an HOA there and community center and everything.
Yeah. So there are any areas nearby that are maybe up and coming, a little less expensive, look for less type of places?
Yeah. So there's another area that I really like. It's called Edgewater, Maryland, and it's just south of Annapolis. And homes are a little bit more affordable here in Edgewater, I'd say. And there's not as much tourist traction or tourist traffic in Edgewater either. So my experience, the homes are just kind of built a little bit closer to each other here in Edgewater. They may be a little bit smaller than you may find in Annapolis, but it's much more affordable for many people. And there's plenty of shopping in Edgewater as well. I would kind of say that the shopping may not be as nice as some of the areas in Annapolis, but there's still plenty of shopping in there. There's a couple of really good schools. My son actually goes to school here. And Edgewater, the only real exception is that Edgewater does have waterfront properties as well. And some of those can be really, really nice homes. And those can still run you $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 for a waterfront property in Edgewater. Or you can go to something a little bit more affordable in the $300,000 to $400,000, $450,000 price range. You can still find those in Edgewater as well. And this is not too far from Annapolis. So it's if you work in Annapolis, this may be a good place for you to commute into Annapolis from.
So not too far. Is that like 20 minutes? What do you think?
Even closer than that. It's literally on the other side of the bridge from Annapolis, just south of it. That's the bridge right there. You cross that bridge and then you're into Annapolis. So it kind of, depending on where you work, it may be 10 minutes from the downtown Annapolis.
How's the commute situation? Do you guys have a lot of traffic certain hours of the day, or is it not too bad?
Yeah, so traffic is something that I do try to warn people about before they come to Annapolis. So actually within the city itself, traffic is not that bad. In the summertime, we do get more tourists in kind of the downtown Annapolis area. You know, Annapolis is the capital of Maryland, so we do get a lot of tourists there. And that can create a little bit more traffic in downtown Annapolis. But kind of a challenge that we have is that we have Route 50, which is a major highway that runs just north of Annapolis. And that goes to the Bay Bridge. And so what we have in the summer months, we have a lot of people that leave DC and leave Baltimore, and they head to Ocean City, Maryland for weekend trips. And so every single Friday during the summer, there's just a lot of traffic on this Route 50 going across the Bay Bridge. And a lot of times they kind of get bottlenecked right there at the Bay Bridge, and it kind of slows down the traffic. And we can see big backups on this highway. And sometimes those backups can then lead into backups in Annapolis as well. So as locals, we just kind of know this. So pretty much like Fridays during kind of that evening time period, we know that, hey, we probably shouldn't get on Route 50. You may hit traffic by doing that. So you kind of work it around your schedule. And then during the summer as well, on Sundays, traffic's just a little bit heavier on this Route 50 going westbound back towards Baltimore and DC. And so that's the only real traffic that we kind of have to contend with here. It's just during the summer months on Friday nights and a little bit on the weekends. Just from a lot of tourist attractions and people heading out to Ocean City, Maryland.
So I have a two-pronged question. You mentioned traffic as a challenge. Is that the worst thing about living in Annapolis, or what is the worst thing? And then what is the best thing?
Oh man, good question. Yeah, I'd say traffic is going to be the worst thing about living in Annapolis. It's kind of frustrating because sometimes it's like, hey, we want to go out, and we're like, we don't really want to get stuck in traffic. So it does kind of affect our plans sometimes. And once you kind of live here for a bit, you can kind of recognize the back roads that you need to take and where you can and cannot go to avoid that traffic. So that probably is the worst thing about living in Annapolis. The best thing is just access to all the fun things to do. There's tons and tons of fun attractions and restaurants to try out and cool things to check out here in Annapolis. And we're not that far from Baltimore. So you go to the Baltimore Harbor, you go to downtown Baltimore, or you can go to DC and go to the National Mall and everything, check out all the monuments in DC. That's maybe 45 minutes away from Annapolis. So we really are there's just tons and tons of fun things to do here in Maryland, right? There's really no shortage of attractions and things to do here. And, we also have the Annapolis Naval Academy in downtown Annapolis as well. And, that's a major historical feature here in Annapolis. The Naval Academy has been around for a long time. John McCain went to this Naval Academy. Pretty much all of our historical captains and Navy officers have gone through this Naval Academy. So there's a lot of history and a lot of pride here, a lot of Navy pride here.
Well, that's one thing I love about the East Coast is you have that history and those really cute downtowns. And, I love the West, but we don't have that same thing. But tell me about the summers and the winters. Like, how cold does it get in the winter? What's the weather like? And how hot and miserable does it get in the summer? Just so that we know what to expect.
Yeah, I actually think that we have excellent weather here in Maryland. It doesn't get too hot, it doesn't get too cold. Here in Maryland, it maybe snows 2-3 times a year. And we have years where we don't get any snow at all. And in the summer, it'll get up to maybe 80 degrees, but it doesn't really get that hot. Now, what we do have, though, is humidity. I got to be honest about that. Because we have the Chesapeake Bay, we have all the evaporation off the bay and everything. The humidity level here does get pretty muggy sometimes. And I'm totally used to it. I've lived here my whole life, but I do get people that come in from out of state and from a dry state, and they're not really used to the humidity level that we have here in Annapolis.
Do you have to have AC in the summer to survive? I mean, unless you're a native.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody has AC. Yeah. That's a must have in the summer months here.
Tell me about the people. Like, what are the people like? What's the constitution of your neighbors like?
So we have a huge variety of type of people here, I guess, because we have a lot of military bases here in Maryland. We have Fort Meade, which is a huge base. We have Andrews Air Force Base, which is a huge base. I was stationed up there myself. We have the Annapolis Naval Academy. So we have a huge military presence here. And we have a lot of veterans in the area. A lot of people, they retire from the Navy and they come back here to Annapolis. And so we do have a very large military community kind of throughout Maryland. And I think they're all really cool people, right? I'm a veteran myself. I like hanging out with those types of people. I think, a lot of people are really laid back and easygoing. Now, Annapolis, it does kind of have some people that they want the most expensive property in downtown Annapolis, and they want the big yachts to kind of show them off to everybody. And they do have that kind of a little bit of an older community typically as well here in Annapolis. So, Annapolis is more expensive than the average price point is in Maryland. So it does kind of have those higher income earners are often living in Annapolis. And actually, a lot of people retired here in Annapolis. So there is kind of an older community here in Annapolis that really love kind of showing off their vintage houses and their expensive yachts.
Got it. So you've got some old money in town, but that's cool. That means the restaurants will be good.
Old money, yes. That's a good phrase for it.
Very cool. Literally, I want to Airbnb one of those waterfront condos in that first that first community you told me about, maybe the second one where you can walk to things and just like spend a fall or something there. That'd be super fun.
Chesapeake Harbour. Yeah. Go get a water taxi down there.
I love it when you're in a city that takes water taxis to get around. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Malcolm, thank you so much for taking the time to show us around your beautiful city. I can't wait to visit and actually hang out there. And if anyone wants to connect with Malcolm, please reach out to us. We are happy to make that personal introduction.